Hello, everyone. This is Masih. I am a journalist, women's rights activist, and some people believe that I am a troublemaker. Let's see. I first came to the United States on a journalist visa to interview President Obama. It was during the Green Revolution in Iran in 2009. But President Obama got cold feet, and instead, he sent a secret letter to the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, in Iran. When the assassins hired by the Islamic Republic came to my home in Brooklyn to kill me, this time I reached out to President Biden. Instead of meeting with me, he decided to send billions of dollars to Ali Khamenei. Now President Trump is back in the White House. And guess what? He also sent a letter to Ali Khamenei. Come on! I'm also trying to meet with my president, and all they want to do is to reach out to dictators in Iran. It seems that there is a competition between Ali Khamenei and Masih. Well, maybe this is the world, and we should not give up. Here we are. This is my podcast, The World According to Masih. My guest today is Hagar Chemali, a former policy advisor at the State Department. Don't miss this conversation.
First time in decades that I have hope for the Middle East. And I want to be very clear.
Really?
Yes.
Wait. You're hopeful that Trump's going to bring change in the Middle East? Because I'm being honest with you. Because I'm scared when I see that Trump says, I want good for the Ayatollahs. I'm happy to negotiate with Pezeshkian, the new fucking reformists, which we don't have any reformists. You were part of the Obama's government.
That's right.
You know that I don't like him.
I knew that.
He ruined my life.
I know. How did he ruin your life?
America was happy.
Yes, America was happy.
America, what is wrong with you? Yeah. Lebanon, Iran. We just need to say Allahu Akbar. People run away from both of us. But we know that we are dealing with a lot of misery. War, explosion, execution in the Middle East, everything. So how do you actually handle these things? Like in traditional media, the media coverage is all about how many people got killed in the Middle East. We became like statistics.
That's right.
In the media. So, but I see you in a different way on social media, even in the middle of a crisis in the Middle East. Like making jokes and getting the attention of the youth. So tell me how it works. What is different between the traditional media coverage when it comes to Middle East and to social media and satire show comedy?
Yeah, it's so on one hand, it's so depressing that I believe that you have to make light of it in order to get through it, right? And I don't believe in burying your head in the sand. And that's often what I hear people do. Every time people come up to me, they tell me, I don't watch the news, but I watch yours because I watch what you say because you make it fun and you make it easy and you make it accessible. And this stuff matters. And that's the thing that always guides me, is that I want people to care about it. And so I started doing it in my own way. Now I try to be sensitive. If there are things that are too upsetting or too, where I try to tread carefully where it's things that are too sensitive, things that involve mass death, things of this kind. But it's not, I'll give you an example now, right? I've been talking about Trump's plans for Gaza. And I said, and I told people, I said, do you really think he's going to build Mara Gaza? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see a Trump hotel on the beach, for example. And because you have to.
Okay, Trump. Now we are facing a tornado in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
We are facing hurricane. And to be honest, in Iran, a lot of people, when they see that the Islamic Republic getting nightmare, Ayatollahs, mullahs, honestly, they are really scared of Trump and his new appointees. But they always when they get angry and nervous, and that's the opposite when you see people. People are happy and say, oh, what do you feel? You think something going to happen good to the Middle East? Or...
So
you said you're optimistic.
I'm going to cut you short on that one because it's the first time in decades that I have hope for the Middle East. And I want to be very clear.
Really?
Yes.
Wait. You're hopeful that Trump's going to bring change in the Middle East? Because I'm being honest with you. Because I'm scared when I see that Trump says, I want good for the Ayatollahs. I'm happy to negotiate with Pezeshkian, the new fucking reformists, which we don't have any reformists in Iran. They're all together. They're all the same when it comes to women, when it comes to, to freedom, to normal life. They're all the same. They oppress women. But now Trump says that he's happy to negotiate with the Islamic Republic. So he's actually showing signs.
Like he legitimizes the government.
So then that makes me nervous. But you said you're happy good things gonna happen to the Middle East.
The reason I believe that, it's for a few reasons. So because on one hand you have the geopolitical dynamics. Now we're getting nerdy a little bit, but because the geopolitical dynamics have shifted in the Middle East where this axis of resistance is on its heels. Iran is on the defense. Hezbollah has been decapitated. Hamas has been decimated. The Houthis are fools sitting over in Yemen that are also being attacked all the time. Well, I mean, they've also successfully attacked, but we could talk about that later.
Yeah.
All of them are on the defense. Assad has flown like a coward to Moscow. If I were him, I wouldn't drink the tea there. So you're seeing this crack in the axis of resistance, and it's a very unique window. I don't think it will last forever. I think they're going to find a way to rebuild themselves and restructure and resupply and so on. So you've got, on one hand, these shifting dynamics, and Russia, that's a backer of some of them, of Syria in particular, right, and tied to Iran. They're distracted with Ukraine, bleeding money as we speak, depending on North Korea. And now you have an administration that isn't afraid to use all the tools in our foreign policy toolkit, all those levers of power,
like maximum pressure.
Yes,
it's even the expression maximum pressure.
Yes,
itself putting a lot of pressure to the policymakers in Iran. But the thing is that definitely I never supported Biden administration because it was all about appeasement. It was like they were fantasizing the mullahs and even the moment when.
I think they don't get it. I don't think on Iran, I just think they don't get it.
Well, I want to get back to you now. So forget about comedy, forget about mocking politicians, but you yourself, you were part of the Obama's government.
That's right.
You know that I don't like him.
I knew that.
He ruined my life.
I know. How did he ruin your life? Wait, I have to hear this story before I continue. I have to be clear. I was a civil servant. I worked in the government for 12 years. Yeah. And I started under President Bush as a civil servant working in counter-terrorist financing at the U.S. Treasury Department. And my first job was actually on Capitol Hill working for Congressman Chris Shays from Connecticut.
Yes.
And he was a moderate Republican, but moderate, not like today moderate. Like today he would be very centrist or unaffiliated. I mean, if not left. It's moderate today means a very different thing. But he was amazing to work for because he always voted for what was right. And his party politics never guided him, ever. It was always country over party. So it was an amazing first experience in Washington. Then I went to the Treasury Department. I was under Bush, and I stayed there.
National Security, you were the spokesperson for...
So when I went to the NSC, to the National Security Council under Obama, as director for Syria and Lebanon, those are all still civil servant.
Yeah.
You're a subject matter expert for those positions. But when I was there, I discovered this love of media engagement and talking. Talking is clearly my favorite activity, are both of our favorite activities.
Talkative. We are talkative people. Yes. We need someone to stop us.
You all are going to be here a long time.
The reason that I said, because I know you worked with Samantha Power. How was she?
Okay, I'll get to that. She was the toughest boss I have ever had. It was definitely my least favorite government position. Maybe least favorite in general. It doesn't mean I regret it, because I learned a lot of lessons in that job that apply to what I do now in terms of, because we used communications to affect policy for the better. And one of the biggest campaigns we did, by the way, was that my deputy came up with, along with the human rights person, was to fight for the freedom of female political prisoners. And that's when I really learned how to use media. So it was an invaluable experience, but I hated every day there.
The reason that I immediately jumped on that, because now I hear that you are very optimistic with the new administration. And it's not easy.
On the Middle East. Not on everything.
Okay,
yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
But because it's not easy for those who were engaged with Obama's administration, working with Samantha Power, to talk like good things about Trump. They hate Trump and they said, that's it.
Yeah. Yes. I have to say, for a political party, I'm probably not the most loyal to. I'm not loyal. By the way, I'm myself unaffiliated. I'm independent. I have a mixed ballot, and I'm very objective. And even when I do regular media appearances on cable news, for example, in one media appearance, I will both praise something that any administration does and criticize it.
Hagar, is there anything to do with being like living, I don't know, like coming from the Middle East and knowing what's going on in the Middle East, and like because that happens to me a lot. The reason that I said Obama ruined my life, because when I was in the Middle East, I was excited when I was in Iran. Oh my God, finally, African American gonna be a president. So that means in Iran, one day we can have a female president. So for me, it was like that. Very like beautiful, watching America from the Middle East. And then when I came here, everything just, changed. I mean, shattered in front of my eyes. I saw that how Democrats betraying us when it comes to the Middle East.
Because of the nuclear deal.
Everything, a lot of things. It's not just when we talk about hijab, when we talk about Islam, these are the people here telling us, shh, don't say, this is their culture, you know? So, and Obama's administration invited me to come here when you were working with them at that time, I came here to interview Obama. Then they got cold feet because the Green Movement happened in Iran. So, and they said, if we give you the interview, we might send a signal to the Islamic Republic that we are supporting the Green Movement. Oh, what's wrong with that? Now you're saying about political prisoners,
Yep.
What's wrong with that? I mean, there's nothing wrong about supporting Green Movement. So they actually ignored me, and I couldn't go back to Iran.
That's such a shame. I will tell you that I remember that time period specifically. That's at the beginning of his tenure.
Yeah.
And I remember many people, including the director of Iran at the time, regretting how little the administration supported the Green Movement. And it was it's considered quite a significant foreign policy failure on the part of the Obama administration, that not only did they not support this movement, but they were guided, by the way, by this very false principle that many of us in government, I was at Treasury at the time, told them was false. This false premise that if you allowed the Iranian regime to have a taste of what it was like to be a member of the international financial system, to trade like everybody else and be respected like everybody else, that they would then change their ways. And at Treasury, so naive. And by the way, it doesn't really totally take somebody Middle Eastern to see that. I think for the Middle Eastern people, that's given to us. We just get it. We just understand what guides people there, what they mean when they bullshit, what they say,
exactly.
Right? But when I came from Treasury, where everybody was in agreement on that these were policies that were fundamental to the Iranian regime, and that even if you gave them a taste of the international financial system, they were just going to try and have their cake and eat it too.
That's it.
It wasn't going to change how they
They're going to
act.
export their ideology everywhere, and we know that very well. So I'm happy that you work closely to Syrian, to Lebanese, to Iranians, to me. We were both in Oslo Freedom Forum, jumping on the picture of the Ayatollahs. Now you get a lot of backlash from politicians, how it feels working with the politicians and now getting backlash from politicians just because of mocking them, just because of making jokes about them.
Yeah, it's such an interesting place because...
Or maybe you don't get backlash, do you? Because I get a lot of backlash. That's why I ask.
The backlash I get is more... I don't know that I hope my audience is large enough for backlash, but the backlash I get is usually, I think sadly, from younger viewers who are
like the supporters of the politicians, like Obama supporters, maybe Trump supporters.
Sometimes it'll be right versus left, and any one video, because people can't tell where I sit and people are uncomfortable with that. So they'll see one video, and even if the video is perfectly objective, I'm trying to educate them on something, they don't like that I'm shitting all over Trump, or that I'm praising Trump, or that I'm not doing one or the other. They don't like that. It makes them uncomfortable. So sometimes I get that, and then when it comes to my impersonations, I'll get called racist, I'll get called politically incorrect, I'll get called discriminatory. And the funniest to me is when I get called that for impersonating Middle Eastern leaders. And I'm like, these are my people. I'm allowed to make the accent and impersonate them. This is not racist. How dare you call me racist for doing that?
But it's so sad that people sometimes in the West trying to educate you about what you can make joke about it in the Middle East, or that's happened during the campus protests here.
Yes. Well, and it's that generation. I think it's that group as well. It's They tend to be far to the left or, are very progressive and everything offends them and everything is offensive. And the thing is, I've learned over time, and listen, when I launched my media brand, Oh My World, my whole goal was to explain geopolitics in a fun and easy way because this stuff matters and because it's so often explained in an incomprehensible, elitist way. You watch Fareed Zakaria for 5 minutes and you can't understand half of what he's saying. And that's me. And I live in this world. I have my studies in this world and I worked in this world. Imagine the regular American.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want them burying their head in the sand. It's important because it's not just stuff, as you know, that happens abroad. It's that these folks abroad are also using the United States as their playground.
Yeah.
And so they have to be aware. And so I wanted to do it in a fun way, but my goal was to reach a younger audience. And
successful, or you think that
no,
they are difficult?
No, my audience ended up really being around age 40, 45 and up. And they are the ones, they laugh hard at what they see the humor, they appreciate the humor, they want to learn, so they understand, and they also trust me. So there's no alternative truth for them. Whereas the younger generation, they're really struggling with this idea.
Maybe that's why somehow we failed in America, because now I see like on TikTok, Osama bin Laden suddenly became a hero for the young generation in America. And that gives me like a heart attack.
Yeah, it's offensive.
It is offensive.
Yes.
Like imagine the day they say that like the Ayatollah or Taliban are our heroes. What are we going to do with it? So I think that there's maybe something we should do to actually tell them, instead of like saying that you don't understand, you don't get us. Maybe we don't know how to get them to understand what's going on exactly with Houthi, with Hamas, with Hezbollah, with all the terrorist organizations, and what they do to us. Yeah. What do you think? I mean, I always criticize myself.
No, I've thought a lot about this. And so and I'm not sure if I told you this, I teach at Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs. So I saw things unfold on campus right before my very eyes. And I also know the differences, right? Like we didn't face as many problems at the grad school.
Yeah.
And that speaks to people's age, right? Grad school's a little bit older. So at that age, 25, 26 and up, 30, they're much more open to learning. They're much more open to having a conversation that's civil. I think that the pandemic must have played a role in this, but I've thought a lot about this, and I found 3 factors that really allowed that younger group to be manipulated into these pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah messages, which, by the way, directly undermine any effort for peace and stability in the region. And you tell them that, they don't believe it. They've got these narratives that they've been fed. But so it's 3 things that I've seen. One is this movement, if you will, that I believe has just grown over the last several years against what they view as anything, quote, colonizer, European settler, white European man, and they identify Israel as the white European colonizer, settler man, and all of that wrapped into one. So first is this narrative that has taken over that generation specifically.
Hagar, these are all that we used to study at. I used to study at school.
Right. Well,
in Iran, under the Islamic Republic, we were told that all these white Western men are trying to ruin like dignity, ruin like the values of Islam, culture. So this is what we have been studying and learning in under dictatorship.
Right. Well, and listen, and I don't want to pretend that like colonizing is a good thing, but they don't understand the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has nothing to do with colonization. It's not a group of outside invaders that went in and took over land. It's not how it worked. But they don't want to study the history of it. They prefer they got these sound bites that are very easy for them to stick to. And most of them didn't understand the nuances of this conflict. So that's one piece. The second piece is this human desire to belong to a group.
Exactly.
Yes. And this is in general. This is not just this generation.
They want to do something. They are young. They want to be active and part of something that
part of a
owning
cause. Yes, part of a team, an instant group of friends. And that's where I think the pandemic played a little bit in this. Now, all humans are like that in general. We all like to feel, we don't want to feel homeless. We all like a group of people with whom we identify or a leader to follow. It's innate in us. Otherwise, political parties probably wouldn't exist. But for them, they're young, they're at school, they're fish out of water, and then they're raised in the pandemic, I think that also played into it, that allowed that. And the third piece of this is social media. And listen, my media brand lives on social media. Social media has been good to me in many ways. So I'm not trying to shit on all of social media.
Yeah, social media is our weapon.
Yes,
my camera is my
100%.
weapon. It's a big hashtag in Iran that, Iranian young generation, women of Afghanistan, they're using social media to actually challenge Taliban, mullahs, and having a normal life.
Yeah. And social media is behind some of the most important movements, right? In the Arab Spring, social media is what
So then
brought
how
people to the
come you
streets.
say like in the West being misused, or like I don't get
It's
that.
the problem is that you have so much misinformation and disinformation on social media, and you have so many random folks who've become these influencers who are ill-informed or just completely not informed. And in some cases, by the way, they're just Russian bots. And they share a message with you, and that young person, you follow it because it's a message that you want to hear. And you question what's truth because you don't know what's the truth anymore. And this is a big thing with misinformation and disinformation, is this thing called the liar's dividend, which is where people can't tell anymore what's the truth and what's not the truth. They want to hear a message that they want to hear, and they're going to go follow somebody to get it. And then you're going to have actors, these nefarious actors and bots on social media that amplify that message or divide people.
You put the blame on social media, like the desire of the youth that they want to belong to. Nothing to do with academia, nothing to do with university, nothing to do with education here, nothing to do with the politicians.
There's
like
one
creating division among the young generation here.
Well, there's one thing about education, and I would like to think that the root of this is education. Except look at the campuses that were the most fierce, that had the worst of the protests, and these are some of the most elite universities across the United States. So you've got Harvard and Columbia and MIT and Penn and blah 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 and UCLA and these. You have to be pretty smart to get to these schools. So it's not, and so those students had some kind of education, an education that was good enough to make them score well and write well and get into these schools. But there is a part about education that is lacking that I feel that folks like us do have, that we're born with, which is that a metropolitan view of the world that allows you to automatically understand the difference between the Palestinian living in the West Bank or Gaza who wants peace, who wants two states, who wants to live and feed their family, versus the terrorist organization like Hamas or the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, or so on. I could go on. And what the difference is with them and why they are sacrificing those people and ruining it for them.
Exactly.
And they will bulldoze all of them if it means they can achieve their terrorist ideological goals.
I saw an amazing video actually you made about the young generation fantasizing Houthi.
Oh my God, yes. Yes, I think that's right. They thought he was
funny,
hot.
but in a way, go on.
So
how did you find out that like the youth doing this exact same thing when they did to Osama bin Laden, now suddenly the Houthi became like sexy.
This epitomizes this issue actually. So there was this Houthi influencer.
Yeah.
And he's got a TikTok following and so on. And he boards a vessel that the Houthis have seized in the Red Sea. He boards it, he's got his phone and he's showing everybody, like, look at the vessel that we, the Houthis, have taken. Houthis are terrorists and militants backed by Iran. And
by Islamic Republic. We're gonna get to there, but
by the Iranian regime. But yes, by the way, the Islamic Republic.
Iran,
yes. And he's flooded by comments of mostly American, young, mostly women, saying like, who's this hot Houthi that he looks like, quote, Tim Houthi Chalamet? And they're gushing over him. So I made a satirical skit about this because how can you not? It's so absurd. And I say this a lot with my satire, that the content is often given to me, that it's so absurd, you can't make it up. So I dressed like him and pretend I'm him and I'm with my camera on a vessel. And I pretend that there's some young American Gen Z, girl just fawning over him saying like, you're so hot. And he's sitting there and he's like, I will kill you. And she's like, yes, talk to me dirty. Because I'm trying to highlight, like, you don't see it.
We mean it. We're going to kill you. We're going to kill you.
Yes, they will kill you. 100% they'll kill you.
That happens exactly about Qasem Soleimani. I love that video because it just reminds me of the time when Qasem Soleimani who got killed actually by the US, suddenly became a hero. And this time, Hagar, it was not from the young generation. Nothing to do with the Gen Z. Fareed Zakaria was on CNN saying that Qasem Soleimani was a hero, national hero for the people of Iran. I was like, hey, Fareed, who are you talking? I'm from Iran. Who? I mean, just name one person from Iran telling you that the same thing. So how you said that offensive, it's beyond that.
It's beyond offensive. And I thought about it about, those of us who were here who lived 9/11. And I don't just mean in New York. I was in New York for 9/11, but it's all of America and a lot of the world actually that was affected by 9/11, where that was a real milestone in how we pursue, how foreign policy, the fissures that fell.
Where were you that time? When
I was a student at Columbia. Actually, I was a student at Barnard College. I was a junior, and I will never forget that morning. And
never. I was in Iran, and we
were you? Yeah.
People it was beautiful moment. I mean, the most tragic story in America created a beautiful moment of solidarity. Iranian people, we were brainwashed to say death to America, Mar America, burning the flag of America. We were brainwashed to do this, no?
Yeah.
But we all came to the street like Iranian young people, holding candles, showing solidarity and sympathy with people in America.
I hope for that we would have the ability in an event of a crisis like that again, that you could have that unity and solidarity without people justifying terrorism or legitimizing terrorism, because that's what that moment represented, is that everybody could stand against something that was so obviously horrific, where innocents were killed. And I just don't know that could happen again now in this generation.
Can I ask you something? Are you going to be honest with me?
I'll try. Okay. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. I'm a bad liar.
When Hassan Nasrallah, you're from Lebanon, was eliminated. How was your feeling?
Oh my God. I was so overjoyed. I was so overjoyed. This guy has been the cancer of Lebanon for years. I get so angry about it.
Finally, I hear this with good accent.
Yes.
Because with American accent, a lot of people educating me that, wow.
Yeah. Oh,
you're celebrating over a terrorist. I was thinking he was a terrorist.
He was the worst. He was not just a cancer that spread throughout Lebanon. He held the whole country hostage for years. And for the last 2 decades in particular, since the assassination of Rafiq Hariri back in 2005, since that moment, that's when things really started going downhill. And especially really since 2011, I was at the White House when he collapsed the government of Hariri the son. When he collapsed that government in particular, it has just been, you have been watching Lebanon going down this toilet drain toward the Iranian regime. And it is because of Nasrallah abusing this country, sitting like a leech, sucking this country and all of its resources and all of its beautiful elements and its every sector that it has, its tourism and its banking, and because he doesn't care about Lebanon. And on top of it, manipulating people into thinking that he has a cause there and that he's resisting Israel. What? And then where Israel? Where are you resisting? Like
Lebanese had a massive uprising, and the biggest slogan was like Iran go out, which I always say that Islamic Republic go out. And that moment, a lot of Iranians came out and they were like, this is what we want, because a lot of time we don't even get that in Iran, that this is not the desire of Lebanese to resist Israel and praising Hassan Nasrallah.
No, Lebanese people just want to party and play and do dirty things. I mean, that's what Lebanon is.
And guess what?
And they want to eat, right? And they want to dance.
Yeah, but in Iran, we were brainwashed that this is what the Lebanese want. Hassan Nasrallah is a hero. So, and then we found out that we should actually get together, Iran, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq. I mean, suddenly that happened in the Middle East, that we all got together, united, and saying that these are dictators, these are terrorists, we don't want them. But do you think we're successful now to educate the Western people that, hey, we want to get rid of them? The way that you mentioned about September 11, when actually Osama bin Laden got killed by Obama, a lot of people,
everybody cheered that on. Oh my God, I could never forget that day. I was at a wedding for one of our one of the friends in the Middle East office under Obama, and we were all there at the wedding, and our boss looked at us and he said, "I'm not allowed to tell you this yet, but I'm going to tell you, and you can't say anything, but Osama bin Laden has been killed." And it was just the most amazing feeling of justice, right?
America was happy.
Yes, America was happy.
America, what is wrong with you? When Qasem Soleimani get killed, when Hassan Nasrallah get killed, when Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of Hamas, get killed, when all these terrorists getting killed by the US, by the Israeli, then you suddenly educate us that you should not celebrate. This is the cycle of terrorism, violence. It's not.
Yeah. It is because of these guys, these thugs, that we have the Middle East littered with terrorist groups, with militants, with arms, with a division that didn't exist in the past on top of it. People don't believe, for example, even photos, when you look at photos of Iran back before the Ayatollahs, when you look at photos of Lebanon as well, before the civil war, and you see as well how people just didn't really think with religion. They certainly didn't dress according to religion. They were all friends. My parents tell me stories all the time about how they never looked at their friends, at their neighbors, as any kind of religion until the Civil War happened. And all of this was a grander plan by Qasem Soleimani in particular, right? And so when he was assassinated, I remember going out and doing all the commentary on cable news, and everybody's like, "Oh, but the U.S. shouldn't do that, and isn't this really risky?" And blah blah blah.
Correct.
Yeah, I was like, "No, you don't understand the death and destruction that this one man has caused." And so for Lebanon in particular, Nasrallah, and by the way, the Lebanese. And this is where I think I get my joking and my optimism, because Lebanese are a resilient people. We have been through a lot. You have to be resilient and optimistic, even if it's over idealistic, in order to continue on through life. And so when you've had every step, every chapter that you've had with everything. So for example, when you had those pagers explode, that operation.
Yeah. Wasn't that beautiful?
It was beautiful.
I have a picture. I can
magical.
Give you a gift.
Oh my God! Really?
Yes.
I would love to. And it's the Lebanese who are making the memes, the internet memes, the jokes about this. And a lot of people here in the United States are like, "Oh no, you should be really careful." And that's really not. It's not nice to celebrate somebody's death. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to celebrate death this time. I wouldn't think of it more. Usually, I'm not going to go. And if it's a political rival, I'm not going to go wish a sickness on them or death on them, but a criminal thug like this one, of course I am.
I mean, that's funny.
Yes,
the guy,
the pagers
killing people. I mean, that was unique.
Yeah,
and I was like dancing in the streets, celebrating.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
so many jokes coming out of that.
I know, but that's so sad. At the same time, it's beyond sad to see that America is like the young generation, like the feminist, the progressive, are not celebrating with us.
They don't get it. Not all of them. A lot of them don't get it. But I do think. I don't
you
think
said
they're
not a lot of them because you scared you lose friends. I lost a lot of friends just because when October 7 happened, I made a statement and I condemned Hamas terrorist attack on innocent people, raping women, grabbing their naked body. When I made that statement, I lost friends.
Yeah, so did I.
Those
by the way.
who used to be my hero. The same to you.
I lost friends as well. I lost grad school friends and I lost family member friends.
Why?
Like family members who now who don't follow me. They can't follow me anymore because they're just so upset at what I say.
Why, Hagar? One, we are women.
Yeah.
We think and still believe that when it comes to rape,
right,
we are all united.
Right. Me too, unless you're a Jew, right? Yeah.
You said Me Too, so it
Me
just
Too, unless you're a Jew.
Me Too movement.
Yes. Yeah.
So when Me Too movement happened, we were all excited. Jewish people joined us, Iranians. We were all happy that something is happening.
Yeah.
When Women's March took place, let's just admit that. When Women's March took place in America, I was one of the most happiest women, putting the headscarf on a stick, going in public and saying, "My body, my choice." People like, it was beautiful. People replying back like, "Her body, her choice." And I just called my friends in Iran.
I love that.
Yeah, telling, "Hey, this is the first time in my life I'm protesting in the street. Nobody arrest me. There is no acid attack. There is no killings." And guess what? The same people, Women's March people, when I reached out to them and I said that now women in Iran getting lashes, going to prison for removing their hijab, and I want you to support them. They blocked me.
Yeah,
They said that you cause Islamophobia.
Right. No, and I hate this, by the way. I hate this argument that that they can't distinguish. And you see that a lot with here in the US, in particular on the left, is this view that if you say that the hijab should not be mandatory, it's about the choice of it, right?
Yeah.
It's not about,
shh.
They're like, no, that's Islamophobic.
They told me, you give a hard time to Muslim minority here in America. I was like, how?
Right.
My mom wears hijab.
Yeah.
My mom never...
It's the choice about it. It's the choice to have that.
Is it difficult to understand why we are not successful until the day when Masih got killed in Iran, when they saw a lot of women burning their headscarves, cutting their hair? They it was not easy for them, but they came out, they cut their hair and then say goodbye, and then it's still celebrating the World Hijab Day, but nothing to do with the women of Afghanistan, with women of Iran being kicked out from school, getting lashes, being raped. Why?
I think
I know you love comedy. I took you in a very...
I know, now it's serious, right? It's like it's
because
it's serious. It's serious.
I love America, and I wanna see them listening to us when we talk about what's going on in the Middle East, when we celebrate the death of dictators. That's why maybe, I took you, because
I think I just think that, so if you look at the factors I mentioned earlier about the protests, right? That what led them to that. One of the things I keep thinking of is, how do we? One of the things I say is that's my secret weapon, is that I have the ability to have a lot of perspectives, and it's because of how I was raised. So it's very fortunate. My mom is Lebanese Jew. My dad is Lebanese Christian. In my family, I have Armenian and Persian, and I was raised with the stories of religious persecution and exile and civil war and kidnapping and so on. So I was raised and Islamic extremism, all these things. I was raised understanding the reality of the world over there. And then, but I was raised in Connecticut in a very waspy, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant world. And I think as a result, I can be a chameleon. So, and I like that in me. So I can go and I can assimilate anywhere, and I can pick up a language anywhere. And it allows me to put myself in the shoes of other people and see every perspective. And so sometimes I think to myself, okay, well, I happen to be this way because I was born this way and I was raised this way. How do you put that onto somebody else? And I do think an element, so there is an element of education there, where it's not necessarily that you get a perfect score on the SAT or that you can write really beautifully. You to have that perspective. Yes. Schools need to be able, or whether it's a school or a community or a house of worship or whatever it might be, need to raise kids with being curious, with being open-minded,
and critical,
critical thinkers. They need to be taught how to think, and that's not happening right now. By the way, and that's the job of a university, hands down. The job of a university is to teach you how to think, and clearly that's not happening.
My dream was to go to university in America, but now when I see that the university students are absolutely silent about the girls and women of Afghanistan being kicked out from school, banning from getting an education, and suddenly taking to the street and saying, I am Hamas. I am the activist here fighting to free Palestine. But they never listen to us. If you really want to free Palestine, you have to free Palestine from Hamas, from Islamic Republic. Because all the money goes for...
Yes, there are Palestinians who will say this publicly all the time, by the way, that they won't listen to them. Yeah. If on the contrary, they'll attack them, thinking that they won't know best.
Shall we go together to university campus and, talk like this?
100%. Right? Yes.
Okay, that's a good idea. So here I want to take you to...
I will warn you that it was some of the students who called me racist with that hot Houthi video, who were some Columbia students who called me that.
I feel your pain, because when... Ilhan Omar, oh my God, Ilhan Omar called me mouthpiece of Trump. Why? Because I said that your new legislation to monitor the critics of Islam to find out whether this is Islamophobic or not, it's concerning, because in my country, we get killed for criticizing Islam. So here in America, if you don't allow me to criticize Islam, it means that you're killing us as well. So, and then I criticized her. I wrote an article for Washington Post. I got bombarded by her husband on my Twitter account and herself saying you're the mouthpiece of Trump causing Islamophobia. I was like, how? How? I'm not scared of my mom, but I'm scared of Islamism. I'm scared of Taliban. I'm scared of mullahs. I'm scared of Islamic Sharia laws. So I get your pain that people telling you that you're racist, but we should go there, university campus, and give a talk about our own experience. That's how I want to get you there. When you talk about our experience, the grassroots movements in the Middle East, and then you had high-level position in government. So in your government service, how did you realize that grassroots movements can shape foreign policy?
That's a good question. Well, first, I happened to be at the White House when the Arab Spring happened.
Yes.
And I was not a believer that it would happen to Syria. In fact, I remember writing a whole analysis to my bosses about why it wouldn't happen in Syria. And the bottom line of my argument was that they didn't have the economic issues that they had in Tunisia, for example, and Egypt, and that the dictator ruled with such an awful iron fist, which is true and remained true until Bashar al-Assad fell, that there was no way his people could get the masses together to rise up against him. And, boy, was I wrong, obviously. And that's when I started to see the value of the grassroots movement and could see that especially watching what happened in Egypt, in particular in Egypt. I remember we were at the White House and we didn't understand what was happening. We had the working in foreign policy in the U.S. government is very methodical. You have intelligence analyses. You read those. You have experts that write those analyses based on a wide range of sources. You have then the policymakers who look at the policy, and we have pros and cons. And then we have multiple interagency meetings to come to an informed decision on what the policy should be. A very methodical process that's in a box. And we like to try and predict things and so on. But the reality is that the biggest things that happen in foreign policy, in geopolitics, you really can't predict. Nobody could have predicted that Assad would fall when he did. Yeah. No one could have predicted the Arab Spring, by the way, the fall of the Berlin Wall.
That's a shame.
A little bit, I guess. But as a foreign policy expert myself, I feel like, how could I have?
I know, but the Syrians have been warning the rest of the world for years, and they've been ignored. That actually happens in Iran's case as well. Listen, I myself, I had different meetings with the U.S. Administration, like behind the door. I told them that be ready. Women are getting, ready to get to the street to burn their headscarves. Nobody pay attention to that. I actually then publicly said that it was at Stanford University. I said that you will see very soon, it was 4 years ago. I said very soon you will see a women revolution in Iran. People thought that we are exaggerating. That is missing here, that in foreign policy, they don't want to listen to people coming. Why?
That's right. Because the American government knows best. And I don't mean they always know best. I mean, they think they know best. And I know because I was in the U.S. government. I'm pretty sure I said that to multiple people, or behaved that way, right? Like, we know best. We have our intelligence analysis. We have the pros and cons. We have, like I said, the methodical process that's all nicely wrapped up in a box with a bow. And that is very U.S. government. U.S. government can be very America-centric. And the perspective is very American and narrow in that way. And always is this, I think you see it a lot. I mean, and that you see this with Democrats and Republicans of we know best, you must listen to us. Yeah. And we have so much power that we are able to then pursue these policies and have effect that can be in many, many times very good and very bad, right? And so we've seen the effect of thinking that we know best and what can happen. We see that happen when we stop the bombing campaign in the former Yugoslavia, right? We could see it, and then we also see it with the invasion of Iraq and what happened after that. A reality that really I think we are still living, right? Everything after the invasion of Iraq, because we knew best. We knew what was better for Iraq and Iraqis. We went in there thinking we're freeing you.
Yeah, I mean, you remember when Iranian people were in the street chanting "Woman, Life, Freedom," like risking their lives, getting executed, shot in the street, blinded. Then it was, I forgot the name of the special envoy for Iran, Rob Malley. He came out and he said that these people in the street, they want respect from their government. I was like, wait a minute. They're telling you that they don't want
They
this
don't want the
regime.
government.
They don't want this people.
Yeah.
So because they believe, that
Rob is softer, I think, than, it'd be their special envoys come on a spectrum. And I would say he was his philosophy, if I will, is more pro-engagement with the existing regime. I was of a believer after, and I would love to hear your thoughts too on when the protests came out, and just given how many years you were working on this, what your immediate thoughts were after the death of Mahsa Amini and what ensued. But there are different range of views on dealing with the regime. And I remember after the protests, when they started, the Biden administration had this talking point that they kept repeating publicly, including Rob, saying, they said, we're not pursuing nuclear negotiations right now. Meaning they're leaving the door open, and they're leaving the door open to do it with the regime.
they hand out money.
Yes.
They hand out
that
$6 billion. The same time when people were.
Yes, right.
But the same time when
which they refroze, by the way. But yes, because they refroze after October 7th.
Exactly,
but still.
That was a signal to
Yes.
Islamic Republic that you can take dual national citizen hostage, and then we give you money. That means hostage
Right.
taking works. But I want to tell you that it's very clear that talking about sanction is not easy. You get a lot of attack. But what is your position? For me, it was not easy from the beginning, but I saw you actually talking loudly.
I know, I'm kind of a sanctions girl. So
now listen, now we're gonna get attacked by those who are lobbying with the for the Islamic Republic, for dictators. But a lot of dissidents coming from Venezuela, Russia, Belarus, Iran, everywhere, under authoritarian regimes, we say that sanction is helping the people of Iran, because when you give money to dictators, doesn't matter, to Russia, to Belarus, to Islamic Republic, to any dictators, they will kill people. They will support other authoritarian regimes. They sponsor terrorist organizations. But why we're not successful in the administration here to convince European about this? Why?
So, all right, let me give, because I can really nerd out on sanctions. So let me give a few highlights on this. And what I mean when I say I'm a sanctions girl, it doesn't mean that I want to sanction people or countries into oblivion. I just find sanctions are such a potent tool, but they have to be part and parcel of a broader foreign policy strategy. They cannot be alone. They're not a silver bullet. They're not alone going to stop Putin, for example, from his war. The sanctions are going to make it harder, costlier, and riskier for him to finance his war machine. And that's the purpose of a sanction. It's to undermine that financial network that allows that criminal to pursue their criminal behavior. And then when you couple it with whatever the foreign policy strategy is, maybe it's the threat of military engagement, maybe diplomacy, maybe humanitarian aid, maybe aid to an opposition, whatever it might be. When you have that broader package of a whole strategy. Then sanctions can be a very potent tool. But over time, we've seen leaders under both Democrat and Republican become very lazy about whatever conflict or national security crisis that's happening all over the world. They turned to the Treasury Department, where I worked in the sanctions office for a long time, and said, like, okay, well, what can you do? Can you sanction these leaders in Burkina Faso? Can you sanction these folks here? And we used to hate it at Treasury, because we used to say these are such potent tools. And in order not only for them to work, but for us to maintain our credibility in how judicious we are in imposing them. And by the way, when you show that you're judicious in imposing them, that's how you get other partners to join you, which makes the sanction even more powerful. When you have the Europeans join you, for example, or any other countries, then automatically it becomes very potent. And one of the questions I used to get all the time is when it was somebody who didn't have assets here in the United States. And they said, okay, isn't it just symbolic? And I used to say sanctions are never symbolic, because it unleashes market forces. That person or company or whatever it is becomes a pariah.
But when they don't even implement their own sanction, then this is just a symbolic. Like here in America, they sanction, for instance, like they actually designated Revolutionary Guards as a terrorist organization. So, well, what happened? There are a lot of private companies. They know how to bypass sanctions. They know how to actually come to America, come to Europe, having their own business, but bypassing sanction and get away from, all the punishment. So that's maybe, kind of symbolic.
It's a
because
game
they
of
don't-
whack-a-mole. That's what we used to say at Treasury. It's a game of whack-a-mole. These all sanctions, all targets are moving targets, and they rarely change their behavior. They not always. Drug traffickers will often change their behavior, but low-level drug traffickers, mid-level drug traffickers, the others will look for ways that they can pursue their goals and evade or circumvent U.S. sanctions. And so the U.S. Treasury is very used to. Basically, if you think of it like an onion and you sanctioned the target first, then you have to go to all the outer layers. And that's why you start seeing sanctions of other companies and maybe spouses and relatives and so on. It's to get to that whole network to ensure that they really remain isolated. And this is when I say this to people and they're like, oh, but sanctions hasn't been proven to change behavior. That's not totally true. And it's not how it works. Again, it's not.
No, I mean, if it was not impactful, then the dictators wouldn't spend a lot of money to their lobbyists outside beyond their border.
It's the one request they want lifted.
Exactly.
Putin, what is the one thing he wants changed?
Sanctions.
He wants the sanctions lifted. And so Trump is going to use that as a lever. Now, we could go into, there are, I think, a lot of flaws with the way Trump is pursuing the Ukraine policy, but separately, he intends to use sanctions as the bargaining chip with Putin to get him to come to the negotiating table and strike some kind of deal. I don't know how it's going to look. Again, I think that that's really risky for other reasons. But the point is, why is it? It's always when we start negotiating with these dictators, it's their number one request, meaning clearly it's hurting them, meaning clearly it affects them. It means they can't pursue what they want to pursue. Their power starts to crumble. And sanctions take time. And that can be unfortunate because there is collateral damage to it. After 9/11, the sanctions programs are not the way they were when we used to do them against Cuba and South Africa and Iraq, where we used to just impose these countrywide blocking programs. We try to target the actor that's the problem, the real criminal who's involved. Now, again, you're going to end up having collateral damage sometimes when a central bank is sanctioned or when oil is sanctioned.
But at the same time, look, when it comes to Iran, I keep hearing from Democrats here saying that, sometimes Republicans as well, saying that how we can answer to media challenging us, saying that it's going to affect the lives of the poor people, makes the poor poorer. But I always give them example about how the Islamic Republic, whether they are under sanction or not, they sponsor the terrorist organization. They still have money to do that. They still have money to sponsor 51 religious institutions in Iran. 51. So the money, when they have the money, goes to morality police, goes to revolutionary guards, but at the same time, still, I'm not convinced that it's just the Islamic Republic, they are strong, or Russia, they are strong. There's something wrong here that we cannot convince the Western leaders, Republican or Democrat, that they don't see this as a tool that we should look at like bipartisan and get together and use this tool.
So my experience is that it does have a lot of bipartisan support, like at Treasury, like that office, the office I came from, the Office of Terrorism and Financial Intelligence. It does have a lot of bipartisan support. A lot since Bush, every president really turns to that office as the solution. It's just that the frustration we used to have at Treasury was more that sanctions became the only reliant tool. The problem I find actually is mostly the media is very difficult about it. I know a lot of
they give you a hard time.
Yep, and I know a lot of
Are you a warmonger as well?
Apparently, John Bolton and I must be buds.
Okay.
Because
you are warmonger. You're what else?
Yeah.
They call me a prostitute. They call me.
I've been called a political prostitute before.
Yes.
I don't know why that's even a thing. I'm like, I don't even understand that.
Do you work for CIA, MI6, Mossad?
I've been told CIA. Oh my God, yes.
How powerful we are at the same time working for different agencies.
So the other day I got a new one too. I had never heard of. I had to Google. Said that I was sharing Hasbara, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I Googled it, and it was Israeli propaganda. That's what it stands for. I was like, what? Like, I don't even know this term.
You're a mother as well.
Yes.
How do you handle all these backlash? Because sometimes I in my case, I see a lot of time they put my pictures, naming different part of my body I mean, not on social media. Iranian state television, they said that this prostitute was raped by 3 men, which was a big lie. But they think that if I get raped, it's my fault. So they try to discredit you by saying that, hey, by the way, Masih got raped. So my son watches this bullshit like all over the media. So I'm not sure about your kids. How old are they? And if they watch these nasty things about you.
No, they don't. They're not aware
No, so you're lucky.
They do watch my content, and we talk about politics and geopolitics at home all the time, and they're fascinated by it. They're fascinated, and one of them in particular, my middle guy, and he's 9. He can explain to you because he asks me. He's just so curious. He can explain to you how the current conflicts in Haiti, Sudan, Congo, Ukraine, Myanmar, how they all started. Because he asks me about the conflicts around the world. How did they start? Why do people fight over? Why do they fight at all? Why? Right? He's so curious about it. And it's so fascinating to see it from his perspective. And he takes it like a sponge, right? And so it's clear, I think. And by the way, he's a total comedian too, and he's a joker. And so
I see them on your videos sometimes.
Yes, he's definitely going to be the future.
It's a family business now.
Yes, now it's going to exactly. And I think he's way funnier than me. But but that said, so they watch my content. They're interested in what I work in and talk about, but they're not aware of the backlash. And they're not on social media on their own. For example, they don't have phones, and they're young. They're 11, 9, and 4.5. So they're not totally aware of that. And even when when they want to see my videos, what they really want to see are the ones where I'm dressed in costume dancing, right? Like when I'm dressed as Putin or Trump or Biden or whatever, dancing to a song. This is their favorite, obviously. But they're not totally aware yet. In terms of, I don't think I haven't put much thought into this. I get asked often how I can do this kind of work. And sometimes I tell them, and I get told often that you're so brave. And I tell people, I'm like, I don't feel very brave. I'm not the one in protesting in the street of Iran. Those women are brave on another level. I'm not the one who has family abroad where a family member of mine could be imprisoned for me speaking out. That's bravery. So I feel very privileged in that respect. I'm born and raised here. A lot of my family has left Lebanon. Those that are in Lebanon is not Iran. And thankfully, for the first time, I feel like it's not becoming the Iranian regime, right? under the Iranian regime. God bless the Iranian people, though. Oh my God, I swear they're like our sisters and brothers.
That's why from the beginning, when you said Iran,
I feel like I have to. I always try to make that clarification because it's very obvious when you meet the Iranian people.
Iranians, when they see Lebanese dancing, they want to do that's what Iran is. So
the
I
Iranian
see
people are suffering under the thumb of this dictatorship.
Dream is to invite you to Iran.
One day will happen.
One day
it will happen.
One day I will invite you to Iran, and you will see my beautiful country. And you invite me to Lebanon.
Yes,
and we will dance together.
I have not been able to go to Lebanon since 2011.
Now, if I take you to Iran, we both get executed because you're showing.
You like that ankle there? Is it turning you on a little bit?
It's just, oh my God.
I think it would turn them on
it's
a little bit.
Turn them all off. I mean, honestly, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But that is happening.
Yeah.
That is happening.
Yeah.
Like your hair, if we sit like this together.
Masih, it's not just us. They're making cartoons cover their hair or Hello Kitty ears. They're making the Hello Kitty wear a hijab, right? I mean, because that's too much of a turn on as well. I'm telling you, the satire can be found anywhere. And it's.
How did you make fun of that? Because, the cartoon in Iran is very irritating, man. And so how do you mock this? How do you make jokes about this without being Islamophobic?
So I find, and I explain this to people, that satire is the exaggeration of the truth in order to convey a message. So the way I create satire, usually, first of all, it just comes to me. The idea just comes to me. I see the news or a headline, any article, and automatically I think of how to make that same scenario a little bit more absurd so that people understand the absurdity. It's my way of kneecapping authoritarians. And dictators hate to be mocked. Yes, which I love.
That's why they hate me.
Yes, but that's a good thing. It's a badge of honor.
Badge of honor.
It's a badge of honor.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Because we have to do this.
Yes, exactly.
I love the way when they hate me. When people tell me that I saw the killer in front of my house. My brother got into prison. They did everything to me to make me feel miserable. When they say to me that, how do you handle these things? I was like,
I see that how much they hate me. I'm only 45 kilos. But I don't carry guns and bullets, nothing. But they hate me with guns and bullets, everything, nuclear weapon, everything they have, but they hate me. So I think this is your power too, because I know that when you go to the media, when you go to CNN, I saw you on CNN, MSNBC, everywhere. When you talk about Syria, Middle East, what we want, of course, they're going to hate you as well. So you're not paranoia?
So
getting the killers in front of your porch?
They're about to hate me more because I'm about to do a whole campaign for Lebanon-Israel peace, by the way. And I know a lot of Lebanese support this, but they can't speak publicly about it. And we talked about how the axis of resistance is crumbled. And there's this unique window of opportunity, and it's a very small window where you've got, in Lebanon particularly, the Hezbollah has been decapitated. They can't resupply soon because Assad has fallen as well. And Assad was even more than Iran, really Assad has had his hands suffocating Lebanon. And it was, for 2 years, they couldn't elect a president, for example. So now, since December, between everything that has happened to all these pro-Iranian elements because of Israel.
Hamas and Hezbollah crushed. And then Assad falling.
Gone. And then now suddenly Lebanon, it's almost like prisoners who broke free. And for a second there, they didn't know what to do because their guard had left the door open. Yeah. And for a second there, they didn't know what to do. And then they got their act together and they elected a president. And not just any president, but a pro-Western president who went out publicly and said that the only arms in the country would be held by the military and not Hezbollah.
And Hezbollah should be kicked out from parliament, from every...
Yes. Now you have this. And now you have followed, and I want to be very clear. I want to be clear to the listeners. I am not a Trumper. I'm not. But I see. I'm an equal opportunist.
When Trump killed Qasem Soleimani, I was with him.
100%.
When Trump sanctioned the Islamic Republic, I am with Trump. When Trump says that maximum pressure, I am with him.
Yeah.
But if Trump negotiate with the mullahs, if Trump respect the clerics, ignore human rights, I'm not with. That's it. That's how it works.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's my view. I don't understand why we can't. I tell people I'm an equal opportunist when it comes to criticism and praise. So if Trump does something I like, you better believe I'm going to be out there praising it. And same if he does something I don't like, I'm going to criticize it. And it was the same under Biden. And whereas with Biden, by the way, I was at the end of my government career when I was spokesperson. When you are spokesperson, you are politically appointed. Mm-hmm. So I was not a Democrat. I was not a registered Democrat, but I was politically appointed under Obama. I did support him. I voted for him. I was happy to be politically appointed.
Yeah, that was actually my question.
Yes, you didn't finish that part.
Your beliefs are your opinions, your personal experiences are absolutely different from making decision on politics, especially in Obama's administration, or navigating them, giving advice to them. How do you deal with the conflict?
It's a good question. There's a lot of conflict. And one of the things I've prided myself on is being able to maintain friendships with everyone of both sides in Washington. I mean, I'm talking specifically in Washington. I am 100% friends with people in both camps, with both, not just camps, both administrations. When it was Biden and now it's Trump, and I speak to all of them. And for sometimes I advise them to. They'll ask my advice on Lebanon, on terrorism, on Syria, on whatever it might be, on sanctions. They'll ask for my advice as well, on communications. And I love that I have that trust with them. I do believe they're aware that I'm not loyal to any one party, and I just can't be. And
you should not be.
Yeah, sometimes
you should be loyal to humanity, to freedom, democracy, dignity. That's it.
Right.
By the way, count on me on the campaign, Lebanon and Israel and Iran. Let's include Iran, Iraq. Yes. All the Middle East. We're going to have peace when
now is the window.
We understand that Islamic Republic and all the terrorist organization gone.
You know what happens when you have a peace agreement like that? Hezbollah has no raison d'etre. They have no reason to exist. And when that happens, and if you just look at a country like Lebanon alone, right now Lebanon is naked. They are the prisoner that broke out of the cell. They're figuring it out. They're trying to unify. They're not really good at unifying because they've been living this way for so long, and a lot of them are corrupt, and many of them are still. The reason for Lebanon's demise for so long is because they don't think with the flag. They don't think as a sovereign nation. They think with their backer. What religion am I tied to? What militia am I tied to? And who's the backer of that? Is it Iran? Is it Saudi Arabia? Is it France? Whatever. And this has always been the demise of Lebanon for the first time in forever. You're seeing them pick up the pieces and say, no, we have to be a sovereign nation. And so in a situation where you have the demise like this of Hezbollah, and Hezbollah's gonna figure it out soon. So they've got this short window, and their economy's in tatters. They're after a war, and they've got an administration coming in that has said they want as many countries as possible in the Abraham Accords, and Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize. Now listen, he's a narcissist. Look, I think if he could make peace around the world, I still don't think he's gonna get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Definitely, he's not gonna get
that is his goal. And you know what? If that's what's driving him, fine. I want to be the beneficiary of that. I would like to return to Lebanon. I haven't been in since 2011 because of the work I did in the U.S. government. And I think that it's the first time you have all these different factors that make it ripe. And so now's the time to do it. Yes.
To face.
Yeah. People want to call me a Zionist. Great. I am. Great. Call me a Zionist. Call me whatever you want.
Call me a warmonger.
Yes. Call me a hawk.
But it's stick with the truth.
John Bolton and I can go get a drink.
What do you want people, not from the Middle East, the Western people get from this conversation? I have something, and I want to get only one thing from all this conversation, from garden to, dancing to women's rights to politics to comedy. I want them to get only one thing from this conversation. You say first.
It's the one thing I want them to get is that to believe in the forces of good, and that working toward peace, while it is more courageous, and that is a thing in the Middle East. It takes much more courage to fight for peace than it does to make war. And we see it happen over and over again. Why can't we all be working toward peace? Why is me saying that Lebanon and Israel should make peace? I'm telling you now, I'm going to get a lot of hate in Lebanon for this. And I'm going to get a lot of haters, and I'm going to have family members who excommunicate me from their lives forever. And you know what? We say in Arabic, like, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. Like, you're welcome to do this. Why does it have to be that way? If there's one message I want to take, is that their future, all of our mutual futures, is better if we can work toward peace and identify that the forces for bad and evil, they're on the outs. They're the ones losing right now. Let them finish off. Let them lose and go away forever, so that we can rebuild and have a peaceful society, a prosperous society, societies where there's trade, where there's relationships, where there are exchanges, where things are just normal, That's the one thing I would say, because I know that that's the backlash that I'm going to get on this campaign. It will be shocking how many Lebanese people, there are many Lebanese people who want peace with Israel, but who cannot say it, who are living there, who cannot say it. So I'm happy to be their spokesperson. But there are also many, many, many more who won't want it. And my answer to them would be, but why? You want to wallow in being a pariah? You want to be friends with the terrorists? What has that gotten you? Yet your currency has crashed 90%. You can't feed your people. No country wants to fly here or do business with you. What is it getting you? Yeah.
I want everyone to understand that if they want peace, democracy, safety, security in America, they should listen to people who actually know Middle East and dictators better than they do. I want America to listen to every single person who has experience of living under dictatorship, authoritarianism, and they know what people really want. And I want them to understand that if dictators are after America or Europe or Western values, they don't care whether you're right or you're left, you're Republican or you're Democrat. They hate democracy. Dictators hate democracy. If you really love, your country, if you really love your values, then you should not say, shh, you're warmonger, or what do they say to you? Zionist, or
yes.
Shh, you are a political prostitute.
Which is illiberal to begin with, to even say that, by the way. Yeah.
Just listen and understand the different words.
I love that.
I love you.
That. I love